So for this one we're going to see a few differences where we can have with the previous way we have made our IK. So for instance, this is a column. Okay, you can notice that his hands are rotated differently. Never mind that they do not touch the column. That is completely visual. Okay, you can change that, and of course you can polish it. Okay, so what we're going to focus on is that we're going to make basically, let's call them IK snapshots. So for instance, depending on the point type, we have seen already hanging and braced. Okay, so now we're going to see one column and one which we're going to call ladder. Now ladder, it's pretty much almost the same as on point, but you didn't believe me, so I'm just going to make my point on point. So yeah, there's that. Okay, and just for the ladder, just so that you see that behaviorally it's exactly the same like on point. I just changed the IK positions, and if I go a little bit towards up, you can see that again IK positions have nothing to do with the visual part, or you know, the points we're going have nothing to do with the models. You can place models, you can do anything you want over here. Okay, and of course these points have only one actual point, these ledges. You can see there is only one point inside instead of these ones that have all the other. But behaviorally it's exactly the same. The script is almost exactly the same, but we're just going to see a little bit of stuff. Okay, and this one also has again just points, just one point, that this time it goes vertically. Before we see the changes on the script, we're going to go again into our point setup, and we're going to create a few changes over here. First of all, we're going to make our IK to work inside the editor. To do that, we want to do that so that we can, you know, we can visualize where we're placing him. Okay, if you're bored to, you know, to exercise, I think this counts too. So okay, we had point setup, we had all this. We're going to change almost everything. So for instance, we have hips position in helpers IK. This will have to do with only this scene on the setup, and right now we're going to be saving them. Previously we were only saving basically the hip position. Now we're not only going to save the hip position, we're also going to save the IK positions for each hand. Okay, so for instance, in braced, where we are creating a position, and especially in IK position, we have this local position. We go and say for the left hand position is going to be this one, and we're also going to add IK rotation, which we're going to save the IK rotation. And basically for braced, hanging and ladder, we're going to leave the rotation as it is. We're not going to care. We're still going to save it, but we're not going to enable it through the climb behavior script. And we're only interested in the column, which has the IK rotation. Okay, again, as with the other video, place the IK handles, place the, you know, the game objects. I've also made a backup of the previous one, of the default ones, so you can copy a position and just apply it on over here. The only important thing is that this has to be local position of the same object, otherwise you might have a few problems. Now, and we also have on our boxman a new script that's going to animate him inside the editor, and you can assign target transform, and if you hit place on transform, it's going to place him over here. Now keep in mind, there's probably a few offsets or slight centimeters of offsets from this to inside the game, So, you know, just act accordingly. Now we can also disable legs, and we can also affect his stance if we have, of course this is going to be used for the hanging part. Hey, oops. So, and disable legs, we can also control rotation and whatnot. The feet, we don't really do much stuff with the feet, so I'm just going to leave them as that. Okay, so yeah, this is it. Let's go and see the scripts. Animator and editor needs to be on the same game object that has the animator, because we are using the on Animator IK. Okay, if Unity editor, it's only going to run on the Unity editor. Don't forget to add the end if. So execute in edit mode, because we want it to run in edit mode. Animator, do not forget to assign that and this, and point setup utility. Okay, drag and drop them. Disable legs, place on transform, the target transform, our stance, enable rotation, and enable rotation fit. So if we are placing the transform, we basically want to move our player or our character on the position of the hips, so we do simply that. And we also need to make sure we apply the offset that we are applying on the hips on random. Okay, it's based off the what we have on the client behavior. So if you change the offset in the client behavior, you need to also change this too. And this is only for visual part. We're not saving something like this. When we want to save this, we're still going to save the transform we have inside the editor and not where the character is. Okay, and if we have an animator, we're going to set the stance. It's just yeah, this is a different animator. It only has the let's idle together, which is either let's idle together or hanging, and we can change the stance like this. Okay, and we have a range over here, and we do it this way. And what makes the animator or the transform play inside the editor is anim.update. If you start adding into this, then it's going to be playing the actual animation. Now on Animator IK, it's what enables the IK, of course. Okay, if we have an animator, if there's no point setup assigned, then it's going to return. And then for each point setup helper IK, okay, for every IK position we basically have into our point setup utility, we pretty much set weight to 1, set the transfer position, and if we have enabled the rotation, it's going to check if it's left hand or right hand, and it's also going to assign the rotation we have on the IK target. If we have ticked enable rotation fit, okay, it's going to do the same. Otherwise, it's going to change the rotation weight to be 0. If we have disabled legs, it's simply going to disable the position of the legs. If we have enabled target hint, then it's going to enable also the hint we have. Okay, we've seen this in not the previous video, the video before that. Okay, so this is what is visualizing everything inside the editor. So when you fix positions and all that, we can then go into point setup utility. We have our current type, save point setup, hit position, helpers IK, hips, helper, and point stats to update. Point stats to update, basically, if you remember previously we were creating different game objects and we were adding stuff. Now we're only going to be adding, we're going to have one that is over here. If we do not have one, it's going to create one. We do that from script, you do not have to automatically create one. And we're going to control with this. So for instance, if I have this current type selected column and I change something and I click save point setup, it's only going to go and affect the behaviors that has to do with column. So for instance, it's going to just go into heap position, going to change this and any other variable, or basically it's going to rewrite everything that we have over here. Okay, I think this is it's an easier way to work with, and of course you can edit this too. So yeah, point setup, heap position is pretty much the same. We just assign the one we want. You can see that I have the same, although I have the same over here. I've saved different positions, and this mostly has to do with, yeah, the column. I think the ladder also is different. Yeah, so basically the heap's position is what different in this case. So again, let's go point setup utility. Okay, on update, this is still Unity editor, execute in edit mode. On update, save point setup, create point. Okay, we do say, yeah, we close immediately the boolean, and we have create point. If we have not assigned any point stance to update before, because you know we might have either forgot about it or we haven't yet created them, we're creating a new game object, we're adding a component point stats, and we use get component point stats. Let's change the name also. Okay, and we need to find a heap position. So we go into our point stats to update and use get heap. I hope you remember this. Okay, this we didn't add anything new. This we didn't add anything new. We have heap position and we also have the IK positions. So yeah, we add something new, which is the list of IK positions. Instead of using them inside our point stats, we're using them. No, we had the point stats, we had them over here. We're just going to pass another variable over here, which we're passing the point type, and the point type is going to go and look for the heap position. And for the heap position we have saved, we have our IK positions too. So it's going to look for that heap position and it's going to look for that IK position. Okay, simple enough. And okay, if it's null, then that means we haven't yet added into our point stats a new entry into our list with this current type of point. So it's going to create a new one, it's going to assign the type and it's going to use that, and we also need to assign it on the very end. Okay, so if it doesn't already contain it, it's going to add it on the end. So and the first thing we know for sure what it is the heap's position. We're going to assign it from the heap's helper local position. Okay, heap's position. So that means it's going to only use the heap's helper. It's not going to use heap's position, basically this. So I think this, yeah, this is not really needed at this point, to be honest. So we can actually, I think we can delete it. Yeah, let's delete it then. Delete this. Okay, and we're using only the heap's helper, so that means everything we have assigned over here is going to go and save it. Since we're only saving one type at a time, okay, there's no need to have more. Now for each, we're going to first look if we have 4 IK positions. If we do not, then we're going to create them. Okay, so if we have 4 positions, then we're going to go into each one and we're going to find both the helper IK and the IK position we want to update, and we have a function, an encapsulated function, that it's going to update all of these. So we need to pass the IK, the helper IK, and our current heap position entry. If we do not have one, or we do not have 4, okay, it's going to go and do create them. Basically, if it doesn't find a helper, it's going to skip it. Okay, it's going to create a new IK position and it's going to pass and update them, and then it's going to add them into the list. Now this will only work, it will work as expected if you either have 4 or if you have none. If you have 2 or 3, then you're going to have duplicates into your list. That's not a problem. In the script we are only getting we're only getting the first one we are finding when we're searching into our list, so it's not really a problem. You can either delete them by hand, everything is public. Okay, now we are adding our heap position if it's not already into our list. We have that, and we throw a debug log just so that we do not forget to apply the controller. By applying it, I mean go into prefabs, climbing resources, point stats, make it a prefab, or update this prefab, or click apply. And if you haven't added the point stats into the controller, you need to do it. If you have done it once, then it's probably already assigned. Now to update the variables we need are only one thing. Okay, we need the IK position, the local position, the IK goal, so which IK this is. If it has a target hint, okay, it has hint, local position, and the IK hint, and we're also going to save the local Euler angles. Okay, simple enough. We have the class we are using to save, or this is basically for the helpers, not to save. Okay, and so that is how we can set them up. So unfortunately, I didn't bother with making a load, so we can load another heap position to fix this, since it's pretty simple. So what I'm going to do though is we're going to go into plain ground, and we've seen already the ladder and the column, how you set this up. Now we need to go into our actual climb behavior. Let me open my bookmarks. Now into our actual climb behavior, we need to fix this first, which has the target position. We're now using from the IK, we have get heap position. Okay, it gets the heap position based on what we have into our IK, and it basically applies it as local position. Now the other thing you need to do is go on write point type into the search, and you will see everywhere that we had braced, we also need to add logic for the other stuff. So for instance, column, ladder, doesn't matter, it's still braced. Okay, of course you can add unique behaviors for each one, but why bother also, since they are just the same thing. Again, point type, you can see, and we not only have a switch, we have a few if statements. Okay, this is not hanging, this is correct, so you do not need to add this up, since hanging is kind of a special case also. Hanging, and here's over here for the stance. Okay, if it's braced, if ladder, if point time. Feel free to change this or make it a switch statement to make everything you want over here. If I was to do this into a complete game, I wouldn't even bother with ladder, or I guess column view, it could be useful. Or what I would have done is basically, instead of using the point types on the actual point type, I might have used another enum that finds the IK snapshots instead of using it with point type. Okay, I didn't do it because at this point, because it's just not really something new on the system. It's just different cases, so I want to keep it as generic as possible, even though, you know, it's a climb system, so we cannot be that much generic. Okay, these are the special cases. You do not need to add anything over here. We have them already. Point type, either hanging or braced, and this is pretty much enough. Okay, let's make sure that everything is. Wherever we have switch statements, okay, we're just adding them since these are the same. If we were adding it on point hanging, then if you were pressing back on a ladder, you might find yourself through the wall. So we've covered everything into the client behavior. Now we need to go into, I have a bookmark on point, yeah, the IK rotation. We're saving the IK positions. Now we need to go into the climb IK. Okay, when we are creating climb IK, we're passing a point, the IK goal, and the point type. For the point type, we're going to start with vector 3, 0. The IK position is going to be from our point D. Point D is our current point, or the point default basically, and we're going to get the IK position. We're going to pass the IK goal and the point type. So this is what is going to basically return us the, yeah, it's going to go and find the correct IK position depending on our current point type. Okay, really simple. There's nothing, I don't think you're going to have problems with this, and we're basically assigning that position over here, and we return it. Okay, so this is going to create the positions, the IK positions for the, yeah, for the position we want. Now we're going to add a new variable, current point type, and where we are going to update this is basically in every function that gets a point. So for instance, we're using this from, we're calling it from the client behavior when we're passing a target point. Since we're passing a target point, we can actually save our current point type. Okay, and so we update it like that. Not all of them though, so you can see that on the update point I do not change something. I do not update the current point target. I do so again on update all target position, and since we've changed this, that means we also, whenever we are calling the create IK position, we also need to pass the current point type. Okay, because we need to know relative to the current point type we have the IK position. Again, over here, return current point position, create IK position, all that. Return IK position on a target. Again, we are updating the current point and we are passing our current point. And let me remove my bookmarks. We will see this in a bit. And we have, yes, make sure you cover everything on the current point where you need to update them. Make sure you are passing either get IK position and on create IK position. Get IK position is exactly the same, I believe. Oh no, it's this one, yeah. So it just stays the same. So, and let's say the last one, which has to handle with the rotation. Okay, and we had, if we're currently placing the either the left hand or the right hand, we were doing this. We were basically making every hand look towards the shoulders. Now we're going to change that, and we're still going to do that for braced, hanging or ladder. Okay, but for column just as an example, here's a little trick if you do not want to mess with, quaternions and all that. And we have the local Euler angles of the helper, but the helper is not parented under something, and there's a reason for that. Actually, you can parent all the helpers under your own transform, but that will kind of make your character look like it's sliding, so it's going to mess with every other stuff we have into our climb system. So what we can do though is simply parent it. Parent it directly, just for once, not once, just on the start of the frame or the logic. Apply the local Euler angles and unparent it, so you get the rotation you want on your helper. And yeah, okay, we didn't mess with quaternions. Anyway, okay, and this will place the rotation, the IK goal on the rotation we have saved into our snapshot. Okay, help rotations and everything else stays the same. So this is basically it, and I think we've pretty much done. If you notice a few frames, that's because a few frame drops. That's because I changed my card and I didn't bother checking my recorder. I probably should fix that. Okay. You can see his hands are rotated based on the snapshot we have. We can still jump since we are on point behavior. Basically it's the same. And for the ladder, like this. Obviously you need different animations when you're getting up on a ladder and down on a ladder, and when you are climbing up or on the end of the ladder. Okay, I didn't make any animations like that because that will mean I'm spending my time animating instead of, coding. There's probably a few animations you can find. Okay, the behavior is exactly the same like this one, just play a different animation, and if you need to fix the hip position, then add a curve and fix the hip position. And I actually want to see the profiler, what we have over here. You can see we have steady 100 FPS. Oops. Okay, as you can see, everything we're doing is pretty performant. We don't have any problems at all, and we are at 100 FPS. And there's no spikes or anything. Okay, I'm just trying to get all the possibilities, and I'm also recording at this point, so keep that in mind. Okay, everything is pretty much as expected, and that goes for the advanced controller also. Okay, let's try those stuff too. You can see that even though we're doing recasts and all that, we're still not losing anything. So let's pause. Let's see what we have on spikes. You can see that, yeah, it's really nothing. Physics processing is 0.4 milliseconds. Yeah, it's really nothing. That it's more wait for target FPS, which this goes away. Which it goes away when you build, or yeah, not exactly. But anyway, we do not have to worry about that. We also do not. We only have. Yeah, as you can see, we don't even have a lot of garbage also that has to do with our system. Input handler, yeah, there's 40 bytes from the input handler. So we are pretty much solid. So that's it. You know what to do. If you don't know what to do, then hit that like, hit that subscribe, and if you also like what we are doing and want to see it continue, then consider supporting me either on Patreon or on Gumroad so that we can continue, keep making and developing all this nice stuff and making it free for everybody to see. So I'll see you next time.